I honestly don't know where to start with this video, and I think that's why I've been putting it off for a couple days, in addition to just being busy with like family stuff and work. But after the ruling that was largely, if not entirely, in Justin Baldoni's favor against Blake Lively on Thursday, there was, a wave of relief at first. And then since then, there's been a lot of frustration because digital violence blackface Barbie Blake Lively has doubled down on a lot of really heinous things that she's been trying to push since the beginning of this case. And while I have dedicated a lot of time to covering this case, which covers a lot of really emotional issues for me and a lot of other people, I do kind of want to limit the amount of energy I'm still giving this person on a regular basis. And that's not just because a lot of the topics being brought up in this lawsuit are triggering for a lot of people in a lot of ways. It's also because she used this lawsuit to come after me and a lot of people, mostly women, that I care about very deeply. And with the judgment bringing a lot more eyeballs to this case and Blake Lively's latest Instagram crash out also bringing a lot more attention to this case, it's really hard to watch people put Blake Lively on a pedestal and attack other less privileged people in favor of doing so. So before I even address the word salad that is Blake Lively's Instagram statement, let me just tell you what is the most frustrating part about the response to the ruling and the message that's being shared on social media. I immediately started seeing women scared on social media saying how wrong it is that the law doesn't protect independent contractors in the workplace, and that's not even true. She chose to fight her case in California, and a specific federal law did not apply to her as an independent contractor. But there are laws that would have protected her as an independent contractor if the actual allegations, the alleged harassment or wrongful behavior took place in California, which they didn't. And there's so much substance behind this issue that people are harping on as a technicality without even looking at the deeply thought out 152-page analysis by the judge that looked at all of her allegations and did discuss the merits of what she was saying in the light most favorable to her. With this lawsuit, Blake Lively tried to paint herself as the everyday, helpless employee who is sexually harassed in the workplace. She tried to align herself with women who are legitimately abused in the workplace and can do nothing about it. She went to the Time 100 gala and she went on talk shows and she tried to paint herself as a figure of hope for women who have been hopelessly sexually harassed in the workplace or abused by people in power. And she relies on women who have struggled and suffered through those issues to blindly believe what she's saying because she pulls on the right heartstrings. But that's not what happened. And that's not who Blake Lively was in the workplace. She was the person in power. She was the person in control. And she used that power and control to punish and humiliate and threaten people that she believed to be beneath her because she thought she should be in charge. She thought her vision for the film and what she wanted should take precedence. And so she forced these people, who by all accounts to me appear to be innocent, to sign a list of things that would not happen on set. And if they didn't sign the list, she might walk. And who knows who she might influence to walk with her. She could totally destroy and derail the film. Something that the director Justin Baldoni had been working on for years, a passion project, a dream come true for him and Jamie Heath and many other people, smaller cast and crew who worked on that set. She threatened to take it all away from everybody if they didn't sign that 17-point list. But in agreeing to sign that document to salvage something that was so important to them and would be so meaningful to so many people, they unfortunately gave her the power to wreak havoc over their lives, to make ridiculous demands, to force the director into the basement of his own premiere. Blake Lively and her Hollywood friends might have thought, and you framed these people as weird or creepy because they had a culture of hugging on set. But that doesn't mean that there was a hostile work environment. And that's just ridiculous. So without rehashing the details that I've gone over so many times while following this case, attending hearings, reading every document, I want to express how hurtful it is that this Hollywood star, this elite rich person who has the ability to squash anyone else like a bug, is now using her platform and influence to scare women out of understanding the rights that they have in the workplace. Because yes, women who are independent contractors do still have legal recourse, and a path to justice if they're sexually harassed in the workplace. But Blake Lively is trying to write this off as a technicality when she wasn't just any run-of-the-mill independent contractor. You need to look no further than her own self-aggrandizing PGA letter to understand that she was in charge of everything, she had the power, she had the control, and she used it to ruin lives. That is not a technicality. That's the law refusing to be exploited to protect someone who used her position of power over them to abuse them and to save her reputation by painting them as predators. And it's a damn shame that there are everyday, less privileged women who are independent contractors who really do have to answer to people in the workplace who are now going to be afraid for their safety because of Blake Lively. If you're watching this by now, you've probably been around long enough to know that Blake Lively tried to get my credit card information, my bank account information, my location data, among other very personal things, just because I said negative things about her online. Using mean words is not a reason in the United States of America to use the government to force you to hand over your private information to somebody. And when I read you Blake Lively's statement and break it down, hopefully you'll understand why this is so frustrating for me and why this is coming back up, even though she was never able to obtain any of my private information. Because the second I fought back against that subpoena, her lawyers withdrew. Otherwise, they would have to possibly face sanctions or a legal battle that would look very bad for Blake in the press, with 107 of us. But while I go over this press statement by Blake Lively now, and I explain to you why this is so frustrating to me and the 106 other people who were affected by Blake Lively's tactics, I want you to keep in mind that to this day, we who were targeted by Blake Lively's ridiculous legal tactics are still receiving comments like this because a privileged elite Hollywood woman can convince anybody of anything that she's saying just because she's pretty and she's on Gossip Girl. I even shared the legal documents and part of the federal court record where she did this to me and to others. And I still get comments that say, she tried to subpoena your credit card details. Sounds like some made-up bullshit. But hey, keep supporting that problematic man who has had multiple lawsuits against him for shady behavior. You know who else has been involved in multiple lawsuits, especially shady lawsuits, is Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. But they count on the public being clueless. They count on their everyday followers not having knowledge of the strings they pull behind the scenes to punish others for the high crime of not doing or saying what they want. They count on those clueless people to attack anyone who speaks out against them. And it is honestly exhausting just to watch, to read about, but to have been involved in it against my will was a whole other thing that people will never understand, because people will never believe that the Princess Serena from Gossip Girl could ever be so horrible to random social media users. And I still get people who say she had a right to investigate her claims of a smear campaign. No, we live in a country where the people have the right, the freedom to criticize people of power. Blake Lively doesn't just get to point at me and say, I demand your private information because you said bad stuff about me and therefore you must be paid by someone who doesn't like me. And then to use our government, our courts, our federal judiciary to punish me and force me to turn over that information. That's insane, but it's A, complicated to sift through her bullshit. B, most of this is outside of the public eye. The TMZs of the world are only covering the headline news parts, so they would ignore this. And C, sounds fucking unbelievable because it's weird and out of touch with reality, and nobody would believe she would actually do that. But she did. But she relies on that so she can keep pulling her scam in the court the way she is and has been this entire time. So now that I've rambled enough, let me just show you Digital Violence Barbie's latest statement and why it's so fucking insane. And like I said, this is directly from Blake Lively's Instagram story. Blake Lively, who is doing a crossover team up with WME, the talent agency for her husband, Ryan Reynolds. If not her directly, I don't even know if she's a WME client. And in case you missed it, WME, who has power over several very famous and powerful Hollywood stars and therefore has huge influence over the media and controls media bias, loudly dropped Justin Baldoni when Ryan Reynolds demanded or pressured them into it, but didn't see fit to drop Diddy with the same ferocity after he beat the shit out of Cassie on camera. So if that doesn't tell you that WME is just standing up for whatever is most profitable, I don't know what will. And you're kind of hopeless if you don't get that. But Blake Lively says, I'm grateful for the court's ruling which allows the heart of my case to be presented to a jury next month, and for the ability to finally tell my story in full at trial for my own sake, but also for those who don't have the same opportunity to, many of whom I have known and loved deeply in my life, and the countless I'll never know. Well, for their sake, I hope that's true. I hope she never knows them, but Blake Lively has had plenty of opportunity through her lawsuits and her New York Times articles, her time on Late Night with Seth Meyers, her speech at the Time 100 Gala, etc., to tell her story in full. There is nothing left to tell about her story except the things that are going to dismantle this faux feminist, fake social justice warrior agenda she's trying to promote. Because Blake Lively this entire time hasn't said a goddamn word about the newly invented digital violence, but now wants you to think she's the fucking poster child of it. Blake Lively has never been deprived of the opportunity to tell her full story. In fact, she keeps trying to shove her narrative down everyone's throats, despite the evidence to the contrary. The last thing I wanted in my life was a lawsuit. Honey, you filed a lawsuit and then you tried to subpoena 107 of your critics because they dare speak out against you. Again, I don't want to hear it. But I brought this case because of the pervasive retaliation I faced and continue to for privately and professionally asking for a safe working environment for myself and others. Again, there was nothing private about what she's done. She's gotten on her soapbox at every single opportunity she's been given. And there was nothing professional about what she did. Look no further than her texts and emails to her other celebrity friends that she tried to use to bury Justin Baldoni, who was supposed to be the director of that movie, but she tried to convince the PGA that she was the director, basically. I hope the court's decision shows others that, as unfathomably painful as it is, you can speak up. Don't be distracted by the digital soap opera. The constant packaging of this lawsuit as a celebrity drama is not only irresponsible, but it is by design to keep you from seeing yourselves in my story. Okay, first of all, the by design, she always does this. She went on Seth Meyers and said the fear is by design or whatever. This is just a punchline for her. It's not even real. It's not even serious. And the fact that she's trying to demand that people stop saying this is celebrity drama and that they should see themselves in her story is so fucking elitist and out of touch. And if she keeps going with this, more and more people are going to come to realize that. And now she has no choice. She cannot settle after making a statement like this. But let's keep going so you understand why. I hate when therapy terms and personality terms are overused online, but narcissistic is like, fits this woman to a T. This is absolutely fucking insane. Trying to scare everyday women into supporting her is nutty, because what she went through on set was actually petty celebrity drama. She tried to suggest she was abused somehow because she started a conversation about circumcision with this man, and he responded to that conversation. She tried to convince people that he was creepy and abusive during that dance scene when we all saw the footage and saw it did not play out the way she said it did, and that she actually body shamed him. It's so hard to even discuss this in a succinct manner because there's just so much that goes into understanding just how bizarre Blake Lively is with this. And it's unfortunate that the general public will probably never know just how nutty this is because not a lot of people want to dedicate the time to going through everything and actually understanding all of what went on. And I don't blame them because I'm so tired. The physical pain from digital violence is very real. It is abuse, and it's everywhere, not just in the news, but in your communities and schools. Again, gross that she's trying to exploit less privileged women and children who actually face abuse online, stalking and harassment by their bosses or people in power over them to get them to care about her stupid bullshit. My director called my outfit sexy. Yes, I told him that I wanted my outfit to look sexy, and yes, Stoney said we should have hot sex in the movie, but still... Love me, damn it. Give me millions of dollars, damn it. Also, I don't really want to hear about digital violence from the woman who concocted a character based on Justin Baldoni with her husband and put that character into a very, very popular movie and then showed scenes where that character was violently killed. So no, I'm not going to take this woman's opinion on digital violence very seriously. I understand that that was a parody character, and I believe parody should be legal. I don't think being mean and making fun of people should be illegal by any means. I don't think the courts should punish, the makers of Deadpool and Wolverine for that. I think that that's free expression. And I think the public has a right to support or not support that based on their discretion and how they feel about it. However, I don't want to hear about digital violence from the special rich blonde movie star who was made fun of online for wearing multiple pairs of pants at once after she has a character based on her enemy violently killed on screen. That's ridiculous. If you're looking, my claims won't be the first or last you'll see examples of the extreme dangers of retaliation and digital warfare, and it often won't be directed at celebrities or those who may be able to speak up. It affects us all across the political spectrum. Pay attention to all the ways we can be manipulated online. Digital manipulation has been boasted as untraceable. If you have kids on phones, they are some of the most vulnerable. Protect them. Have conversations with them. Studies estimate that between 16% and 58% of women have experienced online abuse or stalking, with 97% of gender-based violence service providers reporting technology-facilitated abuse in their cases. What the fuck does this have to do with Blake Lively? What studies? What are you talking about? What situations? What women? She's taking issues that affect everyday, normal American citizens in the workplace who struggle to get by paycheck to paycheck and are forced to answer to horrible bosses in horrible workplaces, in unsafe environments, to her situation where she was forced to what? Fake dance with a man when they were acting in a romantic scene? Fuck off. People's children have nothing to do with your weirdo celebrity drama over a movie. Get over yourself. Like I said, I do not want to give this person so much emotional real estate in my life, but this is infuriating. So much critical work has already been done to expose systems, tactics, and players who harm. The work to create more safety is in part at trial, but it would also continue far after this trial is over. This is the work I'm most proud of. What work? Last year it was sexual harassment where she tried to align herself with Giselle Palico, who was violently raped by her husband. And she was trying to say that she was an advocate for women who have been abused violently. And now it's all of a sudden, because her sexual harassment claims were dismissed, oh, it was never about that. It was about retaliation and my reputation and how everyone thinks I'm a pretty blonde princess and I'm afraid they won't anymore. Get a fucking grip. Seriously, what work? What work has she done for digital violence between the filing of her lawsuit and now? I'll wait. Other than complain about other people using PR tactics that she and everyone else in Hollywood uses. If you want to talk about how damaging PR tactics can be in general and how PR people can manipulate the public, that's a conversation I'm willing to have. However, if you're using those same strategies, I do not want to hear it. I couldn't begin to stand up if not for the countless who have gone before me, and the masses who are still around us all, creating laws, social change, sparking conversations, rallying, working privately and publicly, risking and sometimes losing everything for the safety of others in all spaces. Some whose names we know, most we don't. Thank you, all of you. These are just like words. She's just saying words now. They don't actually mean anything. What are you even talking about? Like, there's no real examples she's giving here. And she also tries to position herself as some sort of social justice warrior or icon here. And I'm like, what the fuck have you actually done other than give a speech at a special lady event every now and then to cure your image after you did blackface to stalk someone and then got married on a plantation? Things that I could forgive if you changed and showed a pattern of change over time. Because when I first found out that Blake Lively was involved in all of this, I thought, well, people shouldn't punish her for things she's done in her past because people change. We all change. We all deserve some grace. But she shows herself to be incredibly entitled and nonsensical. These are just random delulu words that she's hoping people who don't actually look into the details of her claims will take and think, oh, that's so nice to think some special blonde lady from Gossip Girl is standing up for me, and it's working. That is so sad for the women of America that we're allowing this woman to scare people into thinking independent contractors aren't ever protected, and scare people from her Time 100 speech into thinking women aren't ever safe anywhere, ever. This is fucking nuts. She has no idea what the experience of an actual everyday woman in America is. I will never stop doing my part in fighting to expose the systems and people who seek to harm, shame, silence, and retaliate against victims. I know it's a privilege to be able to stand up. I will not waste it. And then she put the dragon emoji on there, which is just humiliating. Your support keeps me going. Again, this is narcissistic. It gives the appearance of delusion. I don't know what to even do at this point. Because unfortunately, most of us are lazy in our social media consumption. And so people are not going to look into her claims and ever find out how ridiculous this is. So she will win over some people with this because she exploits the experiences of women and families in everyday America who don't have the privileges that she has, the money that she has, the experiences that she has, and the power that she has. And she tries to scare them into A, believing her, and B, rallying behind her. And it's fucking nuts. And I really hope people start to see the light if they haven't already, because Blake Lively didn't just try to hurt Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, and all the men involved. She also hurt their wives. She also tried to attack the livelihoods of their children. And she also tried to attack the privacy and free speech rights of 107 internet, social media users who criticized her or who didn't believe her, who were commenting on federal court proceedings funded by our government that we all pay taxes into, or at least the residents of New York where this is taking place. And she is abusing those systems to try to keep her power and status over other people who have the right to express their disdain for her if they want to. There's just so much bizarre bullshit that came out of this case, and there's so much that she's doing now that's even worse, and it's, like I said, tiresome. So I'm gonna dip out for now. I need to take a break. So, all right, thanks guys for watching. I do still want to go to trial if it goes ahead. I don't see any way they could settle now after that statement, so I will have to, unfortunately, fundraise. I've never fundraised for anything before unless it was at least partially for charity, so it's going to be kind of like, I don't know, I don't like it, but I can't go and watch and report if I can't fund my trip there, so we'll see. But I haven't set that up yet, so all right, we'll see. Thanks, guys.